I'm gonna do a mind read here, and I'm gonna guess it right now. Your Instagram, your TikTok feeds are flooded with people talking about 2016 nostalgia right now. 2026 is the new 2016, mannequin challenge videos, Pokemon Go, Snapchat dog filters, Harambe memes are back now. Searches for 2016 spiked 425% on TikTok this past January. Everyone's posting the same caption. 2016 was like the last normal year. And I mean, in a way they're right, but no one's really explaining why. So let me add some fuel to this fire today. So based on all my research, I can say without a doubt technology peaked for consumers between 2013 and 2017. That's not opinion, that is data. That is empirical. That is what replacement cycle data shows. That is what shipment numbers show. That is what satisfaction surveys show. 2016 felt like it was the last normal year because by then you finally had everything that you needed. Your phone worked perfectly, your laptop had all-day battery, your TV looked great, your console played really good-looking photorealistic games. You weren't falling behind, you weren't missing out, you just had good stuff that worked. And summer of 2016, the infamous summer of Pokemon Go, millions of people outside together, just chilling and hanging out. You got people hunting Squirtles in parks at midnight, strangers actually talking to strangers. I've seen stranger things. This was probably the last instance of real community tech, the last time that technology was able to bring people together before it started completely isolating them and tearing us apart. By 2017, the iPhone X was at $999 retail. Nobody cared. The headphone jack discourse that consumed months in 2016. Remember the death of the headphone jack? How will I charge and listen at the same time? That was all dead along with Snape and Harambe. We crossed that threshold. Good enough had arrived, and it turned out that good enough was actually really freaking good. So yeah, everyone's nostalgic for 2016, but the feeling didn't start in 2016. It started 1 year before. The last year, upgrading felt like an event instead of a transaction. So if you're a millennial parent, or heaven forbid, a Gen Z parent, trying to explain to your kid why you aren't buying them the newest flagship when their phone works just fine, yes, we became our parents, you're about to understand why you, and not really them, but you yourself are actually right, and why they think that you're old, because somewhere between 2014 and 2017, whether you had an iPhone 6 or a Galaxy S5, something fundamental changed, and it wasn't just us getting older. But first, this video is sponsored by Aura, and here is why that matters for this story today. Everyone's nostalgic for 2016, the last normal year before tech got hostile. And I'm about to explain exactly what changed, but here's what didn't change. Data brokers selling your personal information. They've been doing it for years. The difference is what they're selling it for. In 2016, it was mostly marketing, annoying but manageable, but by 2026, it's scammers, spammers, and worse. Your data isn't just being sold, it's being weaponized. Data brokers are actively selling my addresses, family members, phone numbers, and I've got 4 kids that have information out there, completely legal, completely available to anyone who's willing to pay for it. You're nostalgic for 2016 because tech felt like it worked for you instead of it working against you, or is about taking that control back. Aura identifies which data brokers are selling your info and automatically removes it, not just once, but it keeps monitoring. Plus there's dark web scanning, credit fraud protection, VPN, password manager. It's everything all in one. It's really quite a Swiss Army knife. So for more information and to enjoy a 14-day trial thanks to our friends at Aura, go to aura.com/Reptarus on ice. Just 2 weeks is more than enough time for Aura to start scrubbing your personal info off of these sites without you having to lift a finger. So thank you to Aura, thank you to all of my community and viewers who make these opportunities possible, and let's go ahead and talk about when tech was exciting instead of just exploitative. Let me take you back to 2014. This was around the time that the iPhone 6 Plus was coming out, and honestly, I was pretty excited. I was an Android person, I still am, but I was pretty impressed with what was coming out. The 6 Plus solved problems that I didn't know could be solved at the time. Bigger screen? I mean, yeah, sure, I could finally watch video without squinting. Better camera? Yeah, I could actually capture my kids' faces in low light without having to carry a separate device. Cool. Touch ID. I could unlock my phone with one hand while holding a small child. You notice what I'm doing here though? I'm not looking at spec sheets, I'm looking at problems that are actually being solved. I wasn't paying for specs, I was paying for capabilities that unlocked experiences I literally could not access before. That was 2014, and then came 2015. This was a year that Adele dropped Hello, and it sold 3 million albums in 1 week. Everyone argued about the infamous dress, blue and black or white and gold. And this was the same year that Left Shark became bigger than the Super Bowl itself, and Harambe was still alive. But that was the last year that upgrading felt like an event instead of a transaction. Every year brought something that you could feel, something that changed how you use the device and by extension how you were able to live your life. So 2010, we had the Retina display. Apple hits 326 pixels per inch. That is the threshold of human visual acuity. You literally couldn't see individual pixels anymore. They crossed the biological limit. They won screens. Mission was accomplished. By 2012, smartphone cameras killed the point-and-shoot market. The dedicated camera market collapsed 98% from 108 million units to just about 2 million units by 2022. Not injured, not declining, but completely obliterated it. Canon and Nikon probably still have nightmares of that time. Your phone became your camera, period. And once again, battery life, I'm going to bring it up because that is one of the smallest things with the biggest consequences. Intel's Haswell processors delivered what they call the biggest battery life increase in our history. Laptops went from 4 hours to like 9 to 12 hours in a single charge. You could work on a plane without panicking about outlets, and all-day computing on the go became a real feasibility. As I said, each leap solved a problem you didn't know could be eliminated. Blurry text was fixed, dead battery by noon was fixed, fumbling with passwords were now fixed thanks to password managers. Having to carry a separate camera to actually get decent pictures? These weren't features, they were relief. Really quick, out of curiosity, I want you to think about the last time you were like really excited for a new piece of tech. I think most of you will probably say like within the 10 years ago range. I'm sure there's probably a few of you that are going to say within the past 5 years. But once again, my point is not very recent. Here's the thing, the tech press clocked all of this acceleration like really fast. InfoWorld's executive editor in December of 2015 was quoted this: "The year mobile became boring. The last significant actual innovation was the Touch ID fingerprint sensor in 2013's iPhone 5S, end quote. And that was written 10 years ago. And that dude was right. Tech analyst Paris Marx quoted as saying, "At a certain point, every technology reaches a point where its advancement slows down, if not stalls outright. We don't expect our refrigerators to significantly change every few years, and our cars and laptops have been that in incremental stages for a long time. Smartphones reached that stage years ago," end quote. The plateau is obvious by 2015, but the pressure to upgrade just never stopped. Your phone stutters once, it means that you better get the new model. Your laptop takes an extra few seconds to boot, it must be time. It's time to take it behind the shed. You're playing a game and your PC drops a few frames and it's clearly obsolete, you poor piece of garbage. But here's the confession, I almost fell for this again a couple months ago. So I saw the tea leaves, I saw the writing on the wall, and last year I decided to upgrade my PC before capitalism priced me out of it. I was able to get everything except the video card. I got my new CPU, I even got the RAM, 64 gigabytes of RAM before the price hike, baby! I'm still taking victory laps for that purchase, by the way. But then the AI boom hit its apex, and the RTX 5070 prices exploded. I couldn't afford it anymore. So now I am stuck with my poor, broke-ass RTX 3070. The stress that I felt about this, like genuine anxiety, my brain was screaming like, you're falling behind, everyone else is going to get the 5070, your 3070 is going to be obsolete. And then I decided to go ahead and get this new setup going. Sure, there were minor improvements in like the smoothness of certain activities, but nothing about my reality had actually changed. The only thing that changed was the marketing telling me that I should feel inadequate. But yo, this tower looks clean as fuck, I cannot lie. Every time that I would have some sort of dialogue about my kids, about them wanting something new, and they can never articulate a reason beyond the fact that it's just new, I realized that that was something that they learned from me. I modeled this exact behavior for, well over a decade. And here is a moment that I realized that I was playing myself. So my two oldest kids, I've mentioned this a couple times, that I have helped them build their first gaming PCs. And for their video cards, I gave both of them an RTX 3060, one step below my current video card. And why did I do that? Because I knew for the games that they played and for their current needs as kids in elementary school, the 3060 was good enough. They didn't need anything more powerful because they're not going to be playing or creating anything that needs that much power. So I'm teaching them how to make smart, rational decisions on what they need based on what's actually good enough. But when I am downstairs here in my room alone, I'm having panic attacks about not being able to get the RTX 5070. Nothing about my current reality requires this new video card aside from the fact that it goes quicker. And that's the trap. I can see the trap. I can articulate the trap. I can make sure that my kids avoid the trap, and I can make videos about the trap right now, but I still fall for it. Congratulations, you played yourself. In the games that I'm playing now as a test run, I'm not even playing anything that intensive. I don't want to. The most intensive thing that I play right now is going to be like RimWorld or Dwarf Fortress, or you know what? I'm playing a single player tabletop role-playing game on my computer right now with Obsidian, a note-taking app. I'm not playing Cyberpunk 2077 on max settings. I'm playing a pen and paper role-playing game on my computer that is close to max spec settings with 64 gigs of RAM. So I need to be honest with myself, and I guess this is me holding myself accountable to the internet. Like, if I can give my kids 3060s and know that that's more than enough for them, why can I not apply that logic to myself? And you know what? I'll say it. 2015 was a pretty peak year for gaming. Let's see here. We had Rocket League. It became a cultural phenomenon with cars and soccer. People still play it today. We have Bloodborne, the only From Software game to not get some sort of sequel or follow-up. Bloodborne, please, don't make me pirate it and play it on my computer. This was the same year we got Metal Gear Solid 5, we got Kojima's Swan Song before Konami just completely lost the plot. And no, Kojima didn't lose the plot. All the answers were there the whole time. Kojima is like the show Lost. If you just pay attention, it all makes sense. That's a different video. And in that same year, we got Batman Arkham Knight, where the Batmobile finally worked. Peak gaming. And all of that, and all of this on a PlayStation 4 that cost $399 and looked stunning. I think that the PlayStation 4 was probably peak console value, and we didn't even know what we had at the time. 10 years later, former PlayStation boss Shuhei Yoshida admitted this on YouTuber SkillUp's podcast, the Friends Per Second podcast. Have me on the Friends Per Second podcast, please.
The PlayStation is the most interesting thing because, the Moore's law has kind of matured, right? So you don't get as much, benefit by, taking time. So the graphics has, almost hit to the level that even I cannot tell the difference between the some of the graphics, capability, like ray traced or not ray traced, unless it's side by side or higher frame rate.
And I think that the Nintendo Switch's massive success in 2017 proved this as well. It has like the PlayStation 3 era graphics and processing power. This is hardware from like 2006, and it dominated. Why? Because good enough hardware with compelling software beats raw specs any and every time. And by 2015, Call of Duty was dominating the sales charts for the 7th year in a row, but critics were already saying, same old thing. The plateau was visible everywhere. And here is the part that we're living in now that should be making all of us angry. The technology companies saw this happening. They watched the innovation curves flatten in real time. They had solved technology. They had won. They did it. And instead of saying, hey, mission accomplished, we build amazing tools that last, they looked at their quarterly profit earnings and said, how do we make people buy new ones anyways? They couldn't deliver revolutionary improvements anymore, so they pivoted from solving problems to manufacturing dissatisfaction with the stuff you already had, the stuff that they sold and made for you. I just want to say, here's kind of my opinion about expensive technology. I think we've always had an understanding about the concept of paying a premium for cutting-edge tech. 2006, PlayStation 3 models for $600 for the 60 gigabyte model. I still scoff saying that out loud because that was expensive and people complained. But you know what? At the same time, it was almost justified because it had Blu-ray. That was the actual new technology. The PS3 was a Blu-ray player that also played video games. And at the same time, Blu-ray players at the time were being sold for like $800 by themselves. So $600, I mean, that at least felt justified. You got the player and you could also play those sweet, sweet PlayStation games as well. This was the same playbook that Sony did for the PlayStation 2, which had a built-in DVD player to make it the best-selling console of all time to this day with 160 million units. But 3 years after the PlayStation 3 debuted, out came the PlayStation Slim. $299, exact same ecosystem. The hardware was actually a little bit better and it was also half the price. And that was how it was supposed to work. You paid a premium for the first generation innovation and then those sales went back into refining the technology to allow it to be more affordable for the masses. But something broke in that 2014, 2017 range. And it wasn't you know who. I mean, it was, but remember that iPhone comparison from earlier, iPhone 6 to iPhone X, 43% price jump for basically a gesture change. And I mean, that wasn't an anomaly, that was the new business model. But once that change happened, here is the result of that. And here's where like a lot of my research and my opinion gets really interesting. So, autist warning. In 2013, the replacement cycle for a new phone was about every 24 months. Everyone was getting a new phone every 2 years. That was the plan. But by 2020, that replacement cycle hit 40 months. People are waiting 3 to 4 years to replace their phone. That's 67% longer, 67% increase. We didn't get apathetic. We as consumers started to wake up and get rational. The general public realized about these diminishing returns. And I mean, at the end of the day, here in the year of our emperor 2026, I don't think it's really controversial to say the following phrase. Nobody gives a shit about having the newest iPhone anymore. No one cares if you have the Galaxy S24 or the S21. That status symbol that cell phones provided at the time has evaporated because there are no more improvements to be had. They've become invisible. And I mean, this is what they do. They manufacture dissatisfaction with what you already have. So there is this moment in every technology's life cycle where improvements keep happening, but they stop being noticeable to the average humans doing average tasks. Basically what I've been calling in this video the good enough threshold. The tech didn't get worse, it just got good enough, and good enough turns out to be really good. So here's a little bit of the economic responses for when innovation plateaus and prices continue to spike. So from about 2007 to 2022, iPhone prices increased at about 7% year over year. Global purchasing power, the amount of money that we can all spend annually, only goes up about 4.3% year over year. The price increases have outpaced the purchasing power by 62%. So, if you are neurotypical, that means that phones got more expensive faster than we got richer. And the market noticed. So as a result, smartphone shipments started to peak at about 1.47 billion in 2016, and they never recovered. They fell to about 1.4 billion in 2023, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, in reality, that's a 22% collapse. Pre-built PCs have hit their lowest since 2006, and with the current state of the PC market, I don't know if that's gonna get any worse. It might go down even more as more manufacturers are gonna be allocating their resources towards AI data centers. And while a lot of my focus on this is about things like technology and entertainment, I mean, this goes across the board. You can see everywhere people talking about the lower quality of things like clothes and items that were supposedly buy it for life. and they want to charge more based on their brand name, but the quality isn't worth more than something that you could find at like Walmart. No offense to Walmart shoppers. With smartphones, the iPhone 6 solved just about every friction point. 10 years later, the iPhone 15 costs 4 times more but delivers what exactly? A camera that's technically better but still looks identical. There is a reason why Chromebooks, which are basically just really fancy tablets that run Android, are still so successful. Most people just need it to run email, do some web browsing, some word processing, and maybe some very basic games for casual leisureness. The transformative period was over, and TVs 1080p for the most part looked perfect by 2012. The jump to 4K is only noticeable if you sit 3 feet away from a 70-inch screen. The IEEE, the engineering standards behind Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, they called 4K broadcasting, quote, the law of diminishing returns in action, end quote, which is academic speak for, you can't see it, stop paying for it. Prices for TVs have fallen 97% since the year 2000.
And just like the refrigerator and things before it, that tech matured into a commodity. We stopped coveting them and started using them, like refrigerators, like washing machines, like tools that do a job and get out of your way. But despite all that data showing we collectively said no to the upgrade cycle, here is what I've been avoiding saying for the past 22 minutes. Technology went from exciting to boring to terrifying in the span of just like 10 years. And you know what? I actually miss boring now. Boring meant your tools worked and that you were done with them. Boring meant you could just use the thing instead of constantly evaluating whether or not you needed to replace it. And now 2021 to 2026, I mean, this is where it gets dark, and I mean dark. We have AI boom psychosis, every company shoving AI in the products that don't need it because that's the new marketing buzzword. We have Grok making the most despicable content imaginable, ChatGPT writing college essays, and Midjourney flooding art communities with soulless generated images. We now have surveillance capitalism. We have your TV watching what you watch, your phone listening to your conversations, not for your benefit, but for theirs, to sell you more stuff, to manipulate your behavior, to extract more value from your existence. We live in a world now of misinformation at industrial scale, deepfakes of world leaders, AI-generated news articles, and bots spreading conspiracy theories. The line between real and fake doesn't just blur, it disappears entirely. Like if you look at my highest performing content from 2025, you'll see that the common through line is these tech companies. They're deploying features they know cause psychological harm. They've got internal research proving their algorithms cause depression and anxiety, body dysmorphia in teenagers, and they still deploy them anyway, because engagement matters more than mental health, because your suffering is their profit. I long for the days when tech was boring. Boring is now the goal. That is how far we have fallen. And here's something that feels intentional, like genuinely conspiratorial. Everything that lets you create has spiked in price. GPUs expensive as hell. AI drove them through the roof. The most commonly used industry creative software are now all on a subscription service. But TVs just keep getting cheaper. 65-inch 4K TV costs less today than a 32-inch 720p TV cost back in 2010. The one device designed to keep you watching got cheap, and the tools that let you create are now more expensive. They want you consuming and not creating. They want you watching and not making, just scrolling and not building. Everyone that's posting 2026 is the new 2016. They're not nostalgic for Pokemon Go. They're nostalgic for when boring was the worst problem tech had. When your biggest complaint was my phone stutters sometimes instead of AI stole my art and my kid's addicted to TikTok. So what do I tell my kids about all this? So here's what I tells them. I don't know why I said it like that. Here's what I tell them. Learn to maintain what you have. have, and I really mean learn it. The RTX 3070, I was supposedly anxious about not upgrading. The anxiety wasn't about capability, it was about ego and benchmarks, about feeling like I was falling behind when I wasn't behind anything. Compared to a lot of people, I'm still ahead of the game, let's be honest. When my son got a Switch 2 for Christmas, I retrofitted his old OLED Switch to be mine. And you know what? My Switch was a day one Switch, and that was a real upgrade. I got a bigger screen that's actually noticeable, better battery, tangibly longer sessions, and this practicality is what a real upgrade looks like. You can feel the difference in your day-to-day life. Not a spec sheet, not benchmarks, it's in your hands, it's tangible. That's the mindset that I'm trying to teach them. Technology is tools you maintain, not products that you covet and replace on command. And look, I didn't learn this from some wise mentor or my dad passing down knowledge. I learned it because I'm a broke millennial who had no choice. When your dishwasher breaks and you can't afford even a $300 repair call, you learn to take it apart yourself. When your dryer stops heating and a new one costs at the minimum of $600, you YouTube dryer heating element replacement and then you figure it out. When your 3D printer jams for the 5th time, you don't throw it away, you learn how that extruder works. I got my engineer degree from YouTube University, and you know what? I am kind of proud of it, and I'm not ashamed of it either. Because the alternative was being out at the very minimum hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every time something broke. And as a millennial that has loans and a mortgage, I mean, that's not an option. So I learned. I had to learn. And you know what? I'm pretty good at it now. Same thing with tech. Learn how your PC works, learn how to troubleshoot your phone, learn what actually matters versus what is just marketing noise. Not because it's noble or virtuous or anything like that, but because you need to save money. Like money in this economy? Because once you see that S-curve, you can't unsee it. Every technology follows a pattern like I've shown you. Slow start, rapid improvement, maturity plateau, then commodity. And when you see that plateau, that means that the marketing becomes desperate, and that's when you know it's time to start buying and start maintaining. I like to call this the Harbor Freight frame of mind. You buy the cheap tools first, and if you use it enough to break it, then you upgrade. Because breaking it means that you've actually hit the ceiling of your current knowledge. The well for practical innovation in a lot of ways has really dried up for right now. The low-hanging fruit has been picked. So they pivoted from selling you solutions to selling you anxiety. Ask yourself, is this solving a problem I actually have, or is marketing creating a problem so they can sell me the solution? When prices go up while improvements go down, that's not innovation, that is pure extraction. So back in my day, and yeah, I'm saying it unironically now, we thought we needed the new iPhone every year. We were camping outside Apple stores, we paid $600, and we thought we were getting deals because this was cutting edge tech. We felt legitimate FOMO if we didn't have the latest thing, and these days I'd like to think that we know better. Even if knowing better makes us sound old, and even if teaching them to repair instead of replace makes me sound like a boomer for all intents and purposes. We know better, and I think that's worth sounding old for. And that is it. Thank you for sticking around for like 30 minutes. If you made it this far, you're either really into tech history or you just like hearing me ramble. Either way, I appreciate you. Let me know in the comments, when was your peak tech excitement? When was the last device that you got that actually felt revolutionary and not just like shiny new thing? And are you still using it? Thank you again for watching. I'm just gonna say, you know what? This year, let's see if I can hit 100,000 subscribers. Why not? Let's go ahead and reach for the stars. And I want to thank all my Patreons and YouTube members. I'm gonna be trying to make an effort to show them off on the screen right now, because these are people who are making the dream happen. And if you want to be one of those people as well, consider looking at my Patreon, consider looking at my other videos, like, share, subscribe. Let's get that number line go up. And once again, thank you all for your time. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. Bye.